This is Rob Carbone, and you're listening to BD4.
Here's Barrett, some shake and bake, hits a three. Stands eyes in the crowd with Barrett. 5 on the 24. Barrett previously in the air ball. The drive, the land, backs it home. Gets it back, keeps it out. Barrett for three. RJ Barrett from downtown. Quick trigger three. Gets another triple. Looking for more. Smith to the buzzer. Now it's gone. Smith from way downtown at the buzzer. No one could overlook. Puts it in. They're on their feet at Madison Square Garden. Alley-oop to Ewing. That'll make the Garden more.
Patrick Ewing faced a double team, but still was able to hit.
Finish. And the foul. Houston ducks under. Got it. With 8 left.
Well, looks like we're in day 3, talking about the wonderful New York Knicks. Just goes to show how bored I've been with no Yankees, with no more NBA, and, not being a big NFL fan. There's not much to do now at night during my normal recording times. I was watching the Braves game earlier. Braves-Dodgers. First of all, it is so good to have fans back in the crowd, or a crowd back in the stands. It's fucking awesome. It's only 11,000. And I know they're doing it for the NLCS only for now until they get to the World Series. But it's so cool to see fans back. To me, that's huge. That is so big. Just watching it as a baseball fan, I just like seeing actual human beings there. I felt lonely, watching just players. It was so lonely. It's good to see actual interaction now with the fans there. It was so awesome. And, it was, I'm pretty sure it was mostly consisting of, I'm going to say Dodgers fans, being that the game was in Dodger Stadium. But yeah, it's fucking so cool. Dodgers almost came back. It was like, first of all, it was 7-0 for like the first 6 innings, I want to say. And then, they were chipping away for a bit, made it 7-3 with the home run from somebody. It might have been Betts later to tack on with an RBI, make it 7-4. And then somebody else hit a big blast in the 9th. It was as close as 7-6, like an RBI double. I don't know. I don't remember exactly, but they ended up losing with a ground ball. An error by Ozzie Albies was almost very costly. They were on the ropes, the Braves were, but the Dodgers ended up grounding out to third base. Again, forget who it was, and that was the game. And now they're down 2-0. Now it looks like Atlanta is in control, 2-0. And on the flip side, it looks like the Rays just keep cruising, unfortunately. Well, no, fortunately, because nobody wants the Astros to win. But once the Rays move on to the World Series, I will be rooting for, the National League side. But yeah, it's been an interesting championship series for both leagues so far. It doesn't seem like any of these two games have been, or any of these two series have been close yet. So I'm hoping for one of them to go 7 games, but we'll fucking see. Hope everybody else is doing well tonight. Hope everybody's doing well. Yeah, episode 166. Move the camera a little closer of the podcast tonight. I am your host, Rob Carbone. Okay, we're doing episode 166 of BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. It rained again today. It's been very rainy here. Shit, it was, what was it? I don't know, like a fucking month or two ago, where, this is a whole different topic than where I'm going, but there was a bear sighting. I think it was like a month or two ago in the town next to me. And earlier tonight, I get a text from my mother saying there's another bear, and I saw also on social media, there's a fucking bear sighting today as well. I don't know what's going on here in Summit. Fuck. It's weird, dude. And we never get bears over here. But there's been bears. There has been bears. And there's, my uncle took a picture. There's a bear. That bear was down the fucking street from where I am. It was down the street, literally right over there. It's crazy. Never seen that. Within a couple of months, bear sightings. We usually get one, every couple, maybe once a year at best. At most, rather. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So in Jersey, when we get bears, we go nuts. I'm sure wherever, up north more, it's like seeing a fucking, it's probably like seeing a bird, right? It's just the everyday life. All right, well, let's head to our first break, and I guess we'll get into things when we get back. Be right back.
So, really quick, I just want to remind you that if you haven't subscribed to my podcast on the many different platforms that I'm on, you can do so right now. And all you got to do that is go to my website. Just go to nysportstalkrc.wordpress.com/connect. Once again, in order to subscribe to the podcast and listen to the podcast or watch it on the many platforms we have, go to my website at nysportstalkrc.wordpress.com/connect.
So we talked about Julius Randle a couple nights ago in part one of this Knicks offseason draft talk. But I do want to talk a little bit more about him because I think it's important. He's been a hot topic amongst Knicks fans and the organization and stuff. So while he is here, because I know he's been surrounded in trade rumors and whatever. We can talk about trading him all we want, getting rid of that contract, getting him off this squad. Sure, I'm for it. I would love it. We all know that. Why do I feel like this camera's not moving closer? But while he is here, because he is here, he is a Knick, and we have to root for him right now. We want to find out how we can get this guy to take that next step. Right, because that was the that was the hope when we signed Julius Randle, last offseason. We were hoping he would have built off that career season he had in New Orleans with the Pelicans. But the story was different. He was a sixth man over there, came here and was asked to be the number one guy by the organization. And obviously that didn't go well. David Fizdale just coached him terribly. Mike Miller did a much better job. But still not great. Still some inconsistencies in Randle's game. So how now with another coach coming in to coach this guy? Because he's had a lot of coaches in his career. Right? He played for the Lakers, played for the Pelicans, who, a couple of coaching changes with the Knicks now. That's what? It's going to be his fifth coach? Maybe more? So now Tom Thibodeau comes into the picture. And, Julius Randle coming into year 2 with the Knicks. How can the Knicks get him to play on top of his game? How can they get him to be that efficient big that they were hoping to get, who could occasionally stretch the floor? How could they get him back to that level? Well, I'm hoping Tom Thibodeau can help him. And watching Tom Thibodeau over the years, I was never a fucking diehard Bulls fan, and I didn't watch the Timberwolves, but I did, I know enough hoops, and I've watched enough ball to know that Thibodeau used his bigs. He loved using his bigs in action at the top of the key, on the high post, near the elbow. He used them a lot. Taj Gibson, he ran him a lot up there. Joakim Noah, playmake. He was playmaking a ton at the top of that post top of the key, that elbow area. A lot of playmaking from his bigs up there. And so you're thinking, Julius Randle, when he was on, he did a lot of the damage in that area, right? He had his fair share of bad games. Don't get me wrong. His first Knicks season, I topped him out at a C. No better than the C grade. But when he had his dominant games, he was 15 feet and in, right? The high key, and then, to the low block, to the restricted area. He didn't, he was dominant in that area at the top of the key. So you're hoping that Tom Thibodeau, maybe he uses Randle as a playmaker at the top of the key, like he did with Joakim Noah. Because remember, Noah in his prime was a 4-5 assist guy. Believe it or not, Knicks fans, he was actually once good. And you hope that Thibodeau can not only have him as a passer at the top of the key, where, a lot of Randle's passes and some of his assists did come in those areas on the court. But you could also, expect him to get Randle to thrive there scoring and to get Randle to, screen in those areas as well. Use him more as a pick and roll man. That is where he's most effective. Very good off the ball, setting screens and rolling, or setting screens for other guys to go in and attack the rim. He's got a big body. He's got finishing skills. He's got enough quickness. So I expect Tom Thibodeau to use Julius Randle in that high post at the top of the key. I think he's going to spend a lot more time out there instead of trying to advance the ball up the court, and do stupid shit like that, like he was doing last year, especially under Fizdale. I expect him to use him in space. I expect him, just like I expect Tibbs to use RJ Barrett in the open lanes. I expect Randle to abuse those open lanes with his quick moves more, instead of over dribbling into traffic and doing those stupid spin moves. I don't think he needs to do that anymore. I think Thibodeau should stress him, using him quickly, right away, and attacking those open lanes. Not over dribbling like a point forward. Keep him on the move and not stopping the offense. Reacting, not thinking. When Randle gets the ball at the top of that post, top of the key, 2 dribbles or less, get to the rim. No need to, shake and bake, prance and dance, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Get right to the rim. I think you need to keep him moving, keep him active. And that was the issue with the Knicks offense a lot last year. Randle was one of those guys who stopped the offense. Other guys did so as well. But Randle, obviously the number one option, pretty sure he led in usage rate, was very, stagnant. So I think Thibodeau is going to use him at the top a lot more, but he's also going to try to use him in space and get him to move around. And when he gets that ball, right away he's going to get him to attack the rim. That's one thing I would like for him to stress. Use him as a roll man, okay? Use him as a cutter. Don't use him as much just in these one-on-one, not so much isolation, but just trying to beat you and go out of the way of the play situations. Not to say Randle can't step outside and expand his game. He can shoot the 3 when he takes intelligent shots, right? Okay, he shot a terrible, poor, 27, 26%? Something like that last season. Top of my head here. He can shoot it, though. He just needs to be intelligent. Shoot the 3 in moderation. He doesn't need to go up there, creating for himself and taking step back threes and thinking he's, again, a point guard like James Harden. Catch and shoot opportunities, open 3-pointers, with his feet set in the corners, because he shot 39% from 3-point distance in the corners. And I think 2 years ago, he shot 40% in corner 3. So 2 out of the last 3 years, he shot near 40% from corner. He could shoot that corner 3. That's where you should hit him. And I mentioned last night in episode 165, the Knicks need to use the corners more. player positioning, but also shooting in those corners. It's the most efficient three-point shot. And that's why Randle has his most efficient numbers there. It's easier. So just and more intelligently shoot the three. Just don't abuse it and don't take stupid threes. That was his issue. He might, not to say he can't do isolation anymore. When he isolates, again, at the high post, on the wing, but in moderation, right? In space. And I want Thibodeau to make sure he gets on Randle and, has Randle do a better job of reading those double teams and avoiding those double team turnovers. So I would like to see him use him more effectively and have him running around, being more active out there. Running around, scoring off the ball more. Not scoring, by his own creation. Other guys create for him, or when he gets the ball and he's going to create for himself, make sure he still gets to the rim quickly. 2 dribbles or less. That's my new rule with Randle. I would like to see that. 2 dribbles. Get to the rim. We'll be right back.
Different social media platforms today. If you want to follow my Instagram account, follow at Rob J. Carbone. If you want to follow my Facebook or Twitter account, follow at NY Sports Talk RC.
All right, moving on. There's been a lot of, a couple more rumors have surfaced lately. We always get rumors, and normally I hate talking about rumors because, especially in the Knicks case, it's always just smokescreen. It's nonsense. It's meaningless. Mark Berman trying to create clicks, get clicks. It's annoying, right? We all agree. But again, there is nothing going on for me right now in terms of sports, so I feel like I'll cover some of these rumors. I'll talk about some of these rumors. And one of the more recent rumors, the Knicks potentially trading back in the draft, right? Trading back. Get assets, maybe a young player still on his rookie deal, and get that 14th, 15th pick. I know Orlando is that 15th pick, and another rumor that has surfaced, they are interested in Dennis Smith Jr. I think Berman put that out there. So again, take it with a grain of salt. I wouldn't be completely opposed to it. I think, if the Knicks, if Killian Hayes is not there, I might consider it because Killian Hayes, Obi Toppin, even if he's not there, but I think he'll be way gone by then. But realistically, if Killian Hayes is not there by 8, I would consider it. I wouldn't be opposed to moving back and getting that extra asset. And I say this because, I feel like in this draft, especially a shallower class than the last one, is pretty much a mixed bag. It's a crapshoot after your top 4 picks, right? LaMelo Ball, Anthony Edwards, and, a couple other guys. After those, 3-4 guarantees, it's a crapshoot, from 5 to the teens to up to 19. It could be a crapshoot. So, with that said, why not go to 15 and get an extra, young player back while you have a chance to get the same player you could at 8? Potentially, right? And this is if Hayes is not there, okay? I'll consider it. Maybe you could still get Devin Vassell. Potentially could still get Kyra Lewis. He's probably not going top 8. He'll probably be picked to the 15 range. Paul Reed, Aaron Naismith. You could stay put. Again, I'm not the biggest advocate for moving to 15, trading back. So I understand staying put. You might as well just take the best player available. Don't try and get cute. It's a year where the draft is not that good. Just fucking pick. I get that logic. And again, teams that usually trade back are ones that have a roster they're comfortable with. And the Knicks aren't in that position yet. So I understand it. But, there are some players there that, could be picked in the middle first round range that may end up being better than the guys that are picked top 8. One guy I really like and I think could be better than some of the guys who are going to be available at 8, who the Knicks could possibly take at 15, is Saddiq Bey. I've always been a big Saddiq Bey fan. One of my relatives is a giant Villanova fan, and I always mess with him and tell him I always tell him Saddiq Bey's coming to the Knicks, and he hates that because he doesn't want his career being ruined. But I would love Saddiq Bey, man. I would. 6'8" forward, 6'11" wingspan. A 3-and-D wing. A 3-and-D wing. Exactly what the Knicks need most. Perimeter shooting, perimeter defense. He's got length and versatility, to where he could play good team defense and good one-on-one defense. Lateral quickness, moves his hips pretty well. Doesn't get beat off the dribble a lot. And again, offensively, he's a good shooting 4. Good stretch 4. He's crafty to where he can create for himself off the dribble, but he can catch and shoot pretty damn well as well. Could be your secondary playmaker. He's also a good player in transition, and the Knicks need transition players because they need a lot. And I think, getting someone like Saddiq Bey at 15, I think that's fucking huge because I think that could give you what you were asking for in Bobby Portis, right? Kind of that same role, but he could probably give you a better version. There's a chance he could be a good player, man. I've heard Karis LeVert. I think that's a little optimistic. I've also heard Jaylen Brown, which might be a little optimistic. One I do like is Shane Battier. Shane Battier, I think, may sound boring to you, but he was a very good role player, a very solid role player. I remember him with the Miami Heat. Good 3-point shooter, very efficient, and a really good defensive player. Except for that time Melo dropped 50 on him, which straight up Jays. But yeah, Saddiq Bey is not somebody I would be opposed to. Again, this is all considering the Knicks do, trade up. I mean, they could select him at 8, but it makes no sense. Why not trade back, rather? Why not trade back, get a young player and, select Saddiq Bey? That's a guy I like. Don't hate Kyra Lewis. Now, there's also the possibility they can take their 28th pick, and trade up with it into the teens, but that would obviously cost a lot too. Again, the Knicks, 3 draft picks this upcoming draft, they've got flexibility, man. They've got some flexibility. And this is a good thing. So this is one of the few good things from the New York Knicks right now. This is no dire straits scenario in the draft. They could do some things. They've got options. So just some things to think about. There's also Tyrese Maxey, who was another rumor that has surfaced lately. The Knicks might consider him if they're going to trade down, trade back. Because obviously Maxey's got connections with Worldwide West and especially Kenny Payne, assistant coach, being that he's worked with him recently. So, Tyrese Maxey could become in the picture. Now, another rumor that has surfaced lately that I don't take serious whatsoever is the Knicks considering trading earlier in the draft for fucking James Wiseman. First of all, that doesn't make sense to me. You've got a young center in Mitchell Robinson. You're trying to grow him. Getting another big who hasn't really shown much of a three-point shot either. It's just going to cause spacing issues. Two bigs, especially in the modern NBA, does not work. Does not work. Yeah, sure, Anthony Davis and Dwight Howard. Anthony Davis could step outside the RA. He can shoot the mid. He hit a game-winning three in the finals this year. Or semifinals, don't remember. The conference. It only works if you have guys who can modernize their game. But Mitchell Robinson, Mitch is a rim runner. He's a rim runner, a shot blocker. James Wiseman, there's been talk of him stepping out a bit and being able to hit that J, but I don't think it's consistent yet. And I think at the end of the day, they're both fives. You're going to have to pick one, and that just doesn't make sense. Mitch hasn't shown up to camp yet, so they're trying to make a big story out of that, but I think it's, not trying to get the baby sick, obviously, during these times. I'm pretty sure that's... there's just a lot of bullshit rumors out there. So again, you have to be careful with what you read. A lot of fake news. Yeah, guys, let's head to break one more time. And when we get back, I guess we'll wrap this thing up. Be right back.
All right, fellas. So really quick, I just want to remind you that if you haven't subscribed to my podcast on the many different platforms that I'm on, you can do so right now. And all you got to do that is go to my website. Just go to nysportstalkrc.wordpress.com/connect. Once again, in order to subscribe to the podcast and listen to the podcast or watch it on the many platforms we have, go to my website at nysportstalkrc.wordpress.com/connect.
You're listening to BD4. I'm your host, Rob Carbone. Thank you for stopping by, guys. Episode 166 of the podcast tonight. Talking Knicks, talking Julius Randle, talking Tom Thibodeau, talking NBA 2021 draft. Yeah. That's it. Right? That's all we've got. To recap, talked about how Tom Thibodeau could use Julius Randle more at the top of the key, near the elbow, the high post, using him as a playmaker there, using him to screen and score there, using him in space more, with less traffic around him to cause turnovers, using him quickly, attack the open lanes immediately, less time to think, more time to just react, using him to shoot the three, but, more intelligently, isolating with him in better scenarios, learning to read and avoid the double team. And then we talked about the draft. We talked about trading down, trading up, trading DSJ to the Magic. Maybe. Did we even mention that? I think we did. So we talked about Sadiq Bey, how I really, really want Sadiq Bey, and how my cousin really, really doesn't want me to want him. But that's it, guys. Let's get to the NYK question of the day. All right, so last time out in episode 165, I asked you guys, who was the last team the Knicks beat in the playoffs? The answer to that was the Boston Celtics back in 2013 was the last team the Knicks beat in a round of the playoffs. Tonight's question, episode 166, our NYK question of the day. Which team gave the Knicks their first victory of the 2019-20 NBA season? Okay, so one more time. Which team was it the Knicks beat for their first victory of the 2019-20 season? So message me the answer on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or comment the answer once I publish the podcast in the comment section. It's preferably that you reach me on Facebook or on Instagram, being that I'm not on Twitter nowadays. So if you want to reach me on Facebook, that is at NY Sports Talk RC, or just type in RJ Carbone. And if you want to reach me on Instagram, at Rob J. Carbone, or just type in RJ Carbone. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the podcast, episode 166 of BD4 of the podcast. A BD4 where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. I am Rob Carbone, your host of BD4. And if you haven't subscribed to the pod, be sure to do so right now. Go to nysportstalkrc.wordpress.com/connect. I am tired. I am thirsty. I'm a little bit hungry, but it is late. So I think I'm going to go to bed. Guys, thanks so much. And I'll see you maybe tomorrow if I feel like doing another one. But as I speak, it is a Monday night. I should be releasing this podcast, and it should be up no later than early Tuesday morning. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Ciao.
This podcast is sponsored by Anchor.